tea in Canada. And about, I want to say maybe 8-9 months ago, a few of us started this thing called the social reset. And I want to share my screen to show you a little bit about it. All right, so can everyone see it over there? Awesome, I see some thumbs up. And I'm just also going to want to share my sound because I do have some interactive stuff. So before I even get started on what the social reset is, this is a very interactive workshop. I love to hear from everybody. So if anybody wants to share at any time, I would love that. And this is also a very safe space. So we do talk about mental health and things like that, as we all know, which is a very difficult topic sometimes for some people. So I want to give the floor to everybody and have time for any questions as well. So let's get started. So this is the social reset. So we help cultivate healthy relationships with social media. The main thing that we really talk about is being intentional with our use. So what are we doing online? Why are we online? And what is it that we're getting out of it? So before I even start, let's take a look at the chat. If I can see it, I want to hear about you. I want to hear what is your favorite application. It can be any application from social media. It can be other applications, meditation applications, anything like that. So I'm going to take a look at the chat here. I will have, is the chat popping up in here? Okay, let's see. Oh, I see Clubhouse. Clubhouse is great. Clubhouse is a really good one for meeting new people. I see, do I see other ones as well? Clubhouse for sure. Well, Clubhouse is definitely number one. I really like Clubhouse too. I never actually got onto it. My mom loved it. So that was something that I was able to see from her. But let's keep going. So who we are. Well, I told you a little bit about what we do and why we do it. But we are advocates for mental health. We really want to make sure that everyone, I'm looking at the chat as well. We say mind body on an exercise classes. That is really cool. That is something that I will take a look at after. Thank you for that. So we're going over some learning goals for today. So today we're going to learn how to cultivate healthy relationships with social media. We're going to learn about the benefits and the challenges of social media, and we'll also learn how to take control of our social media use, as I was talking about before. So this is a cool little fun thing. If you have a phone, you can scan this and I will let you ask a question or actually say an answer. But you can also join with this link right at the bottom where it says slido.com, and you want to put in 236627. I'm going to put in that in the chat, 236627. And what that does is it actually allows a word bubble. So oopsies. So this is going to open up to everybody. You can put in anything that you think of. So in one word, describe how social media makes you feel. Good, it can be bad, negative, positive. I don't really like to use those words because things can be both, right? Things can be both positive and negative at the same time. So some people like to say communication. Some people like to say unproductive. Unproductive is a really good one. Definitely unproductive. Feeling, distracted. That's another one I get all the time, right? Distracted, forced to go on things or forced to go and do things, negative, right? Lesser. That's a really interesting one too. Thank you for sharing that one. Lesser, lonely, pressured, right? And I would love to hear from other people when we talk a little bit later. Mind changes about vaccinations, definitely, right? We get so much information in our brains and what we're seeing. How is it possible to actually, right? No, we get a lot of false information. Fake news are another one like that, right? Lonely, disturbing, chaotic. Thank you for sharing these. These are really, really good ones. And definitely, right? It's so easy to get so caught up in what we're doing when it's online. So I'm going to go to the next page. I saw one more as well. Disturbing. Motivating. Someone also said motivating, which is great. I mean, yes, as I'm going to talk about, there is wonderful things about social media and there's challenging things as well. So we heard about the challenges, but someone did say motivating, right? We can see people online that we adore, that we aspire to be and we look up to. We see celebrities, we see TED Talks, and we can see those online as well. So let's dive in. Let's dive in. So we have social connection. That is the first wonderful thing about social media, right? We have the ability to reach out. We can share interests with one another and we give and get support, right? I'm in a Facebook group full of Marvel addicts, right? I love Marvel. I love watching the movies. And so I can share my interests that way. I can learn new things, maybe about the movies that I didn't know before. Or you can join a mindfulness meditation group chat, and that can help learn new ways to maybe become more mindful. So you can give and get support as well, right? You can reach out to someone and say, hey, I would love some help, or hey, I would love to hear you speak about this, right? There's so many people online that have some really good things to say. So we can also get a lot of news and entertainment. We hear worldwide stories. Everyone on here is from around the world, from 65 countries, if I'm not mistaken, right? We hear things from around the world. COVID, coronavirus was something that we heard in an instant, right? Right there at the bottom, I say instant. We heard about that as soon as it happened, and it was around the world. I'm in Canada, and we heard about it maybe 5 days after it happened. So you can also become educated on this, right? We can learn new things from different cultures, right? I've seen, for example, I don't have TikTok, but my sister loves TikTok, and she's a dancer, and she learns new dances from around the world, right? And that is something that is really cool that social media did bring us. So we also have positive change and social justice, right? Who here has heard of Black Lives Matter or hashtag Me Too movement, right? These are two big, monstrous social justice advocates and things that happen online that were worldwide. They were global. Everyone was able to participate. Everyone was able to see this. Without social media, this wouldn't really happen. We couldn't have a hashtag Me Too movement without having the social media to get the voice out there, to get everyone talking about that. So we have open dialogue as well. People can talk about more things that maybe were hidden or not spoken about before. And we can also hear from many more opinions. So we did hear from someone who had said that they heard changing views on vaccinations, right? That is because we can get many opinions based on social media, which is a really good thing, right? We can hear about new studies that have done that people know about right away, because again, we can hear things instantly and around the world. So the last positive thing that I really want to talk about is debunking stigmas, right? We can either talk about ourselves, we can self-express online, really create who we are online, or even a persona of who we want to be online, right? But I will also talk about that in the other side as well. We can tell stories, right? Tell other people's stories, tell our own stories, right? We have space for diversity as well. We can communicate with people that we might have not ever had the option to or ability to. I can talk to people from around the world, again, in that Facebook group. And I have access to information, right? If I have a question, there are so many social media accounts that are just based on providing information. The Social Reset, we have an Instagram account that we use to provide information about events that we're doing, things that we find out, new studies that have come about. So we do provide information and we have access to this around the world. So please do let me know, give me a thumbs up if you can hear this. This is a little video I made of someone who showed an issue that they had. He had Parkinson's and he was unable to take a pill because of his pill bottle that he had. So people from around the world got together on TikTok and actually created a new invention because they saw this one issue that someone posted.
So this upset me enough that over the last couple days I learned fusion, and I designed this little pill container where basically the base rotates and isolates a single pill there in that indent, and from there you can just throw it back like a shot glass so you don't have to pick up individual pills. I don't have access to a 3D printer right now, but if somebody wants to make one, I can send you the files. All we need to adjust is the little tolerances between the snap together parts, but I have those built in.
A few days ago, I posted a video asking for help printing an invention I made to help people take pills, inspired by J-Fox Ninja's TikTok on the difficulty of living with Parkinson's. If you haven't seen his videos, he's an animal. So many amazing people came forward to 3D print and test and retest this thing and have been working on improvements around the clock. In 3 days, we've arrived at a working print file. As always, these are public domain.
So right there, we saw that someone was able to see an issue and create a new invention just based on what they saw online. All right, so that's a really good thing. So I talked about a lot of my benefits that I thought of and that we've researched. I want to hear from you. I'm going to leave this up again just for a little bit. I want to hear about what you think some other benefits are of using social media. I heard motivation. That's a great one. Uh, she just said, I remember seeing this video on my TikTok. Got me interested in 3D design. That's another really great thing, right? You can see things and get new interests because of that, right? You can gain more information, as I talked about, and learn new things. So it's cool. What a positive use of social media, right? Thank you, Julie. And it's very true. There's some really good positive things. So I see someone said connection with others. That's a really, really big one. And connection is a human need that we all need. It's a necessity. Help to get quick information. Yeah, if you need some quick information about, where can I go to get this, right? You can find that online, but also on social media. Discovery is great. Discovery on a new instrument, maybe, right? Playing a new instrument. Discovery on someone there said 3D printing, right? Or getting involved in new things like that, right? Discovering your new talents that you might have not known before. Connecting with others, yes, definitely. Get some help from home. That is awesome, especially while we're all at home right now. Some people are going out, but a lot of people still are stuck at home, and we can talk to people from home, right? With COVID, that was a really, really big thing. So thank you for I'm just gonna look at the chat again. Learning how so many things are connected to each other, developing new interests, summed up information. Definitely having summed up information in one big, maybe Instagram post. I'm also going to quickly look at the chat in who as well. I'm seeing some really awesome things. Back to the other conversation about apps that we use, LinkedIn, Uptime, Insight Timer. These are great. These are really, really good. So as you saw, the more that people say the same thing, the bigger the word gets. And I think that that is a really cool thing to see about how we all have very similar ideas. So let's keep going. So we did talk about how social media is wonderful, and it really is. And I don't want anybody to forget that. But there are also challenges with social media, as we'll now talk about. Right, there are the first big one is dangerous or less meaningful interactions, right? So if you can show a raise of hands or the little emojis, who here, if you're comfortable with sharing, has been cyberbullied? I'll give a second there. I have, and it is very, very common. I will show a slide later about how common it really is. And cyberbullying happens a lot, and to people of all different ages. I see the chat there. I've been cyberbullied, but only realized it was after a few years. That is another really good point. Thank you for sharing that, right? It's hard sometimes to realize when we are and aren't. And there's a big difference between in-person and cyberbullying, right? Cyberbullying, there's a larger audience. And so we need to remember that. And a lot more people can see it. And it doesn't go away, right? I remember when I was a kid, a lot of people would say, watch what you post because it's saved somewhere. And it is. And so cyberbullying is a very dangerous interaction that can happen when we're online. Exclusion and comparison as well, right? Either comparing yourself to someone else, or what we see online a lot is fake personas. So not even comparing yourself to a real person, but maybe someone that they're trying to be. So who here as well, keep your hands up or add your hands up if you felt excluded or compared yourself to someone else, or saw a story of someone posting about a party and you weren't invited, right? And something so simple like that can be so frustrating. There's a good story I read the other day regarding how a girl didn't react much to social media rant about her, I just lost that, about her friend who would react differently if it happened in real life. Totally, right? Definitely. And definitely, feeling excluded and compared to, or the anxiety of thinking about others comparing themselves to you. That's another really big thing as well, right? So these are all things to think about. We also have less meaningful in-person experiences. I'm a culprit of this, going to a concert and putting my phone up and recording it, right? And not really being present and active. We have less meaningful interactions because we maybe want to post it on our story and show people that we're there. When really we can tell them afterwards about the experience that we had, or tell them before and get them all excited, right? So really think about these moments. Distraction, right? And I go into schools, we do the social reset, this workshop in an abundance of schools. I've spoken to hundreds of students. A lot have admitted that they get distracted with, from being on home when our computers are in front of us, how easy it is to pick up our phones. They're right next to us. So we get distracted, right? With homework, And I think a very good point to add here is that according to psychology, they found it over and over and over again. It's impossible to multitask, right? And that is something to remember. It's impossible to do two things at once. We can give half our attention to one thing and half our attention to another thing. But truthfully, if we want to give our attention, wholly our attention to one thing, we have to have that one thing present and we can't be distracted by other things, right? So even sitting at a dinner table and having a conversation with your friends and family and someone picks up their phone, that immediately distracts everybody, not just yourself. Physical health is another big thing. I do have sometimes trouble sleeping, and I would love to see some raise of hands of who else has trouble sleeping. Sleep is a really important thing. It helps with our development. It helps with everyday life. We are exhausted the next day. If not, thank you for someone just raised their hand there. What happens is when we use our phones right before bed, or we even are looking at any technology, there is something called blue light that is affecting our brains. It's affecting our brain circuitry. So what happens is blue light is a light that resembles something of the sun's light. And when it's nighttime and it's dark, melatonin in our brains kicks in and our bodies get ready for bed. But what happens is when we turn on our phones and we just swipe through our Instagrams or our LinkedIn, what happens is we're tricking our brain into thinking it's daytime. And so that actually makes us less tired. So if anybody else has realized that, I get into bed, I'm getting tired, just maybe one quick text, maybe one quick, Instagram swipe, that immediately makes your brain think it's daytime. And so because of that, you might not get as good sleep. That's a really, really big point I like to add. So unhealthy eating too, that's another big thing. Dieting culture is a big thing that we see online. And as we said, we have a lot of people we look up to online. But when it results in unhealthy eating, either both overeating or dieting, that is when we have to be cautious of this. And then physical activity, right? If we're on our phones, as much as we can be walking and looking down, we're not being physically active or as physically active as we maybe like to be. A lot of people these days are not getting as much exercise as they should be. And then the big one here, mental health, right? Depression, loneliness, anxiety, right? Anxiety of either posting your own picture and thinking, what are people going to say? Or anxiety of seeing someone else and thinking, oh, I wish I was them. I'm feeling excluded. I'm comparing myself, right? These are all things that come back. Addiction is another big thing we're going to be talking about a little bit later. And low self-esteem, right? That comparing again. And remembering that we compare ourselves sometimes to something that's not even real. So this is a big fact. And before I delve into that, I really want to just look at the chat here. Even though everyone is talking that looking at your phone before bed leaves a bad effect on your body, I haven't seen a proper approach to communicating to teens other than saying it in this way. That is a really good point. Thank you for bringing that up. And I'm actually going to give some really good ways that we can actually talk about it together, to talk to children, to talk to youth about what they can do. So heavy social media users are about 3 times more likely to be depressed than occasional users. This is a big fact. And I want to state that it's not a one-to-one. It's not saying that if you use social media, you're going to be depressed. But it's, again, this intentional aspect. What am I doing online? Thinking about, what is it giving me pleasure, or am I feeling anxiety because of it, right? The more people use it for negative reasons, that's when it results in feeling more depressed and things like that. And this next slide as well, right? I saw some hands up for people who've been cyberbullied, right? About 59% of teens are cyberbullied. And about 70% of teens feel anxious and excluded when using social media. I saw a lot of hands up and I saw a lot of people talking in the chat. So thank you for that. These are really big facts. And again, it all comes down to how are we using our apps? So it's time to stretch. I'm the only one on camera. That is totally okay. If you want to go on camera, great. If you don't, that is also okay. We've been sitting for a long time. I would like 2 minutes to maybe just stretch. Stretching really brings in air to your body. It really allows you to wake up if you're feeling a little down. A 2-minute stretch a day can really be a change. So if anybody wants to follow me, this would be awesome. So we'll reach to the side. Really just open up your side, your right. Feel that stretch, right? We've been sitting down. Sitting down is sometimes the hardest thing. Our bodies are made to stand. So when we sit for a very long time, it can really affect our back, our posture. I'm just going to reach up. And then all I want you to do is just slowly, we're just going to do something called a roll down. So all it is I see Julie said, thank you for this. This is great. And honestly, if you're ever feeling tired, this is something that can wake you up right away. I do it all the time. I'm in my master's. It's a lot. Sometimes I just need to stretch and it's so great. So everyone, a roll down is something that happens a lot. Actors do it all the time to really get into a zone. All you need to do is just lower your head and just follow your head down. So what that is pretend your head is a really big weight. Your head is actually 15 pounds sometimes of your body weight. So let that weight bring you down and just, I'm going to talk as this is happening to see who is doing it. But as you're going down, really just focus on your body, feeling what hurts, the tension, letting your body sink into this feeling. If anybody's ever done mindful meditation, this is a really, really great practice. So once you're down, dangle there for a sec. Really just feel your body stretch out. The stretch is really nice. Bring in air and breathe it out. And then whenever you want, slowly raise up from your lower back and feel each little vertebrae in your spine going up. Going up. Really, the slow part is the best thing. And the last thing that should come up is your head. And again, feel that. And when you've done that, I know that was a very quick one, but for whoever did it, thank you for joining in. Please do this whenever you need to. Do this whenever you need to relax or bring yourself to focus on yourself. Self-awareness, this is really good for. Oh, thank you so much, everybody. That was really great. I love to do that. And that is, if there's one thing to take from this, out of all the things, that is something that you can try every day. So let's delve in a little bit more into why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like I'm constantly being attached to this thing? And even I want to throw it out the window, but even if I throw it out the window, I want to go get it, right? Why do I feel this attachment? This is something called addiction. And addiction is defined right down there. Addiction is a repeated involvement in a substance or activity. In this case, the activity is scrolling on social media, despite the harm that it might cause, whether the harm is known to you or not. So even if you don't know it's harmful, it is in certain ways, again, depending on how you use it, right? About that aspect. So this is that addiction aspect, right? That dopamine loop. So what happens is when we're scrolling on Instagram, and this can happen fast, this can happen slow. When we're scrolling on Instagram, or I'm using Instagram, it's any social media. When we're scrolling and you like something, you get an immediate dopamine rush because you're seeing either someone that you adore or you just got to like yourself. Right. And this is an increase in your dopamine. Dopamine is a feel-good feeling in your brain. And what happens is you feel good, you feel happy, you feel inspired, however, even little this feeling might be. And then after a certain time, it can happen very fast, the dopamine decreases and you want that again. And so this is where that addiction aspect comes in, where it's that again and again and again. I need to, even if it's the most subtle pickup, I feel good. Okay, I'm good, put it down. Right. And that repetition and repeating it over and over and over again is what leads to that addiction and what leads to that sense of, oh, this is normal, right? This is an everyday thing. So again, just reminding you about that blue light aspect, really making sure that you are focusing on, if there's anything I can do right now, right before bed, is turn off my screens. Even if you like to hear some music, I love to hear some music. What I do is I don't even look at my phone. I just tap music and that's it, because I really want to have a good night's sleep. A lot of people aren't getting the full hours that you need, and that is a really impactful for your development. So another one of these fun ones, I want to see what you dislike about social media on top of all of my topics. And while you do that, I'm just going to go to the other app as well to maybe see if anybody else said anything in the comments. Oops, I actually need to keep presenting. I'm so sorry about that. Let me present that again so I can see the answers. And I'll look at the comments afterwards. I do see some here as well. I've heard of both. I need to start reading them. Thanks for the recommendation. Misinformation about COVID. Yes, the nasty comments. That is definitely something that I dislike about social media too. It can be comments that don't even seem very nasty, but they are. Misinformation about vaccines. That's a really big one that's coming up, and I completely agree. Right? Where are we getting our information? And that is something that has gone to court multiple times with Facebook. I've read about. There's been huge trials about that. So what prolongs the pandemic? Yep, definitely. It makes it stuck almost. You might be stuck in this dislike with social media. So thank you for bringing this up. Fear of taking risks as well. That's a very interesting one. I would love to hear more about that. Definitely. Fear of taking risks, maybe because you're scared of what people think or of posting that. And right, that might be something that's just something that came to my mind. You might have something completely different. So thank you for sharing all of these. These are incredible. So there are some benefits that we have found when we go into schools. We've done a little bit of research, and this is the research that we found. So some benefits of reducing social media use is that you have more meaningful connections, right? About putting that phone down when you're at a concert and you can connect to the concert, you can connect to the people next to you. You have overall improved well-being. Again, it's not a one-to-one. So definitely, I mean, it's not, if you use social media, you're going to be depressed, anything like that at all. But if you reduce your use, or at least are actively thinking about why I'm using my use, that might become more of an overall improved well-being over time. And more time and less distractions. You have more time to do hobbies that you might like or things like that. So this is a little video too. A friend of ours, his name's Hamish, and he created this video about deleting all of his social medias at the beginning of COVID. And we're going to hear about his story, about why he did it and how he felt.
How's it going, guys? My name's Hamish, and I'm just here to tell you a little bit about what I found it was like to delete the 3 main social media apps from my phone that I used to use. So my top 3 were Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Now, I know since I got my first cell phone, there are more applications, social media, free-to-play games than I can even name now. And that's why I think it's important that you guys have some idea of how to have a healthy time relationship with all these applications. So wind the clocks back about a year or so. I was working a restaurant job, the pandemic hit, long story short, that whole industry shut down. I was out of a job and living with my parents with more time on my hands than I knew what to do with. So naturally, I turned to my phone. Between Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, I could comfortably drown out an entire day. I could literally spend 11 hours at a time without looking up from my phone. When I finally noticed what I was doing, I decided to make a change, a very drastic change. I deleted all 3 of the apps that I mentioned. I won't kid you, there were definitely some good things about it, but there were some bad things as well, and I want to detail both. So for the first 2 weeks at least, I was clasping at my pocket, looking for my phone to provide me with some kind of relief with the seemingly overwhelming amount of time I suddenly had in all of my days. I felt cut off. I felt that maybe there was a fear of missing out, like, what are my friends doing right now? Am I more disconnected than I'd like to be? But as the days wore on, I started to recognize other things. All that time I had represented a whole lot of opportunity. On the personal side of things, I was able to start a YouTube channel. I built this set up the lights, set up the camera as you see, and I'm well on my way to chasing down a goal that I've really and truly had for more than 2 years. And all of that was kind of born out of the boredom that I felt having no phone to distract me from the things that I really wanted. The other thing that I've really enjoyed is I can help people out more often now. Even if it's as simple as making dinner for my family. Being of service of any kind in any small way really goes a long, long distance in making yourself feel a lot better. I can't tell you how welcome a change that's been in a pandemic year. It still wasn't quite right. I realized I needed to find a balance between getting rid of social media and using my phone completely and just using it in such a way that made sure that it made my life richer. In other words, I needed to make sure that at the very least, when I was using social media, I was using it as a tool as opposed to letting it use me. Because it will if you let it. So I re-downloaded Twitter. It keeps me connected with just enough news. I can follow a lot of my friends that keep me up to date with what I need for my YouTube channel, and I converse back and forth with whoever I need to. But that's as far as it goes. There is a huge difference between me pulling out my phone and checking Twitter versus scrolling and hitting refresh for 3-4 hours straight. One of the ways I tend to manage that is to make sure that I'm following no more than 30 or so people at a time. I find if I follow more than that, I'm prone to do the scrolling thing where I'm wasting my day away. So even though I found I couldn't get off social media completely, the break that I took taught me how to use it effectively. You've got to understand, with most social media, or really any free to use apps, the way the developers make money is by retaining your attention. The more they can retain your attention, the more they can show you ads, the more those advertisers pay the developers, the more money the developers make. The apps I used so much wanted me to use them more and more and more. As enjoyable as social media can seem, the lost time has a huge cost of opportunity. That's the thing with your time. There's no real way to get it back. Once it's spent, it's spent. I know for me, I found that when I was using my phone on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, I was enjoying myself, there's no question, but I wasn't really getting better. Now that I'm more mindful of how I use my phone, I've got more opportunity to walk my dog, to talk to my family, to pursue other job opportunities, to reach out to old friends. That has by far been the biggest positive for me. Just how much giving yourself back that time opens up for you. So I guess what I would challenge you guys to do is, the second you feel scrolling through your social media apps that you're a little bit tired of it, take a break, see where it takes you. By making even a small change, you really have nothing to lose. So thanks so much for your time, you guys. Take care.
Awesome. So Julie has also just told me that there's some new folks in here. Hello, everybody. My name is Joey, and I am talking a little bit about the Social Reset, which is my nonprofit organization that talks about cultivating healthy relationships with social media. All about how we use the apps and our intent on using them, how we are being intentional. So we talked a little bit about the benefits and the challenges of using them, and now we're about to talk about how we can control our use. So great timing. And Beverly also said, isn't YouTube a social media app? His experience shows how to use social media platform for productivity. Exactly. So he is talking about how we can use these social media apps to be intentional with our use. So if we want to be productive on it, thinking about, okay, I don't need to follow this many people and I don't need to experience this, but I want to use it for these certain reasons. He used it to start a YouTube channel, and hopefully that will help him develop in his profession, right? So it's all about how we use it.
How's it going, guys?
So how do we take control of social media? So if anybody can, if they have their phone in front of them, this is a perfect time to bring it out. I know, random thing to do. How much time do you want to be spending on your phone? Please do write this in the chat. I would love to see everybody's, how much time do you want to spend on your phone? Is it 1 hour a day? Is it 5 hours a day? There's no wrong answer. I would love to hear. Lucia says 2 hours tops. That's a good start. I like that. On my phone, 2 hours. Yeah, simply on your phone. Simply on your phone. 2 hours. That is great. Is there anybody else? No more than 7 hours I work on my phone as well. That is a really good point, and thank you for bringing that up. Social media, 20 minutes. Right? And I'm seeing 3 hours on my phone. These are really good, and I'm really happy that you're being very honest about these, right? It's very hard to spend less than an hour on your phone. 3 hours a day, and that can be while we're watching YouTube, and even YouTube can be like a half an hour video. Yeah, and Lucia says, I mean, it will take about 10 to 25 minutes to reply to messages, and then 30 minutes to scroll, or however we want to use it. That is great. So this is a fun activity. So now what I want you to do is actually look on your phone and see how much time you're actually spending on it. A lot of you might actually be very accurate with how much time you're spending, about 3 hours, 2 hours, but I would love to see. So this is how you can do it on an iPhone. You go to the screen time, then you look at your daily average. That's right on the top. And then that last thing we're going to talk about next is setting app limits. But if you are curious about seeing the activity you are specifically on each app, you can actually see right above where it says app limits, you can see all activity. And that will tell you how much time you're on each social media app. So I'm really curious to see, I do want to see the other chat as well. So I'm going to hop to that, but please do write in the chat how much time you're spending on your phones. I would love to hear it. And there is no wrong answers as well. I'm just looking at the chat as well. I don't think there's much in the other app, which is great. So I'm going to keep it to Zoom. Let's go back to Zoom. Daily average is 8 hours and 42 minutes. And you were saying about 7 hours, Beverly. So that's pretty accurate. That's pretty accurate. And Mac around 4 hours. I see another 4 hours there. That is great. Totally spent 2 hours, 1 hour and 11 minutes. Everybody, you are doing amazing. You are doing amazing. You are doing amazing. That is awesome. And it's not about time per se, because again, it depends on what we're using our time with and what we're using our phones for. But just being aware of, oh, maybe I spent a lot of time on Instagram today. Maybe I'll set an app limit, and maybe I'll have less time in it tomorrow. So it's all up to you of what you want. Just make sure that you are using your time wisely, right? One thing that we really love to say is that time is very easy spent, and we really want to make sure that you're spending your time wisely, however that means to you. So the first thing, how can we control it? We can control our usage. So set those ground rules, either for yourself, just write it down on a piece of paper, set it in your mind, or set those app limits. Have daily designated times where you just turn off your phone. That's really cool. Put it under your bed, throw it out the window, whatever you would like. Or have app limits that, again, allow you to take a break from social media, right? It's just about taking that break, really making sure that you are checking in with yourself. So the second thing, talking about checking in with yourself, is being mindful and intentional. Use it as a tool instead of a pastime or distraction. And if you are using it as a distraction, that is wonderful. But know that you're using it as a distraction, right? If I have maybe a break from one of my classes, I'm a master's student for anybody who came in late. And if I want a break from one of my classes, maybe a 5-minute break, yeah, I'm using it as a distraction to ease my mind a little bit and just see, and that is great. But just understanding the second point of consider what content you're watching and why you're watching it or why you're using it. Do I need to be, oh yes, I'm so sorry, Julia. I have about 5 minutes. I just want to get through all this and reward yourself. So sorry, buddy. Do watch your mental health. So be aware of what it's doing to your mental health and prioritize yourself. Check on yourself and support others, right? If someone's having trouble, maybe check on them and maybe say, hey, how much time are you spending on it? Should you be spending less time? Notice when you're feeling down, when you're on your phone, you're impulsively checking your phone, you're comparing yourself to others, and you feel self-conscious about yourself. So really just checking in and take that social media break if you need. So we'll do the little takeaway. This is still the takeaway of sign a creative contract with yourself. Just write down things that you want to do and sign that and make sure that you do that and turn off your phone an hour before bed. We talked about blue light. Just make sure that you are turning off your phone an hour before bed. That will really help with your sleep. Set app limits if you want and read something positive every day. That can really make a change. And that is how to join the movement. So funny enough, you can follow us if you want. And we post really inspiring things, new studies done and anything like that. So I apologize that I am going a little over time, but I would love to hear any questions. This is a great time to debrief. That was a lot of information. This is a great training. How can we bring it into our schools? That's a really good question. And that is something that we are trying to do as the social reset. So we've been going into schools. I've spoken to about 300 students, and we have brought this exact workshop in and talked to students. And a lot of students have come back. I go in a week later and I ask them how it went. And a lot of students say that it actually changed how they used it, right? They started turning off their phones an hour before bed. They started setting app limits and things like that. Let me definitely stop sharing, and I want to see everyone's beautiful faces. So now is time for any questions.
Hello. So my other question is that why has social media allowed people's information about bad things about COVID-19 vaccines go into their heads, and why did social media help slow down the COVID-19 vaccine uptake around the world, which prolonged the pandemic to be at first everlasting?
That's a good question. And it's very hard sometimes to control what people are posting. And that's why it's really good to check in on yourself and control what you're seeing and what you're posting. That is something that I would say to that. And Lucia, here you asked, what are your opinions on school curriculums affecting the ability of teens to be aware of the things they're doing? So many of them say that they get distracted, but why do we get distracted? Is that a habit? Where did that habit come from? These are all really good questions. And definitely there is something that hopefully there are a few curriculums that we're actually in the works with right now to hope to actually implement some social media regulations, because I think a start to it would be regulations, because a lot of people, depending on their age, don't actually know what to do. And they're just fed this and given this amazing app that can do so much, but they don't know to the extent that it can be done. So that is something that can be done. Yes, do please feel free to turn on your video. I would love to see everyone's faces. How do you set app limits? You can actually go into your settings on your phone, and I can actually share my screen just to show that. Right here, this one is for an iPhone. I tried to find the other ones for other devices. I couldn't. So if you can see this right there, setting app limits right at the bottom, that is how you can do that. And you can choose how much time you want to spend and what apps it's on. So that is a great tool.
I think Mission to Enhance had a question.
Hi.
Did you have a question? I just love to call you Mission to Enhance.
I know, I realized I signed in on my work Zoom instead of my personal Zoom. So hopefully no one from work needs this. I actually didn't have a question. I just
okay, sorry.
That's all good.
Well, good to see you. Can I hear about it? I love to hear about it. From Jerry, where can I hear about it? Yes, please feel free to look at our website, and you can also email me. I will give my email. I would love to hear from other people, and the website is just the Social Reset. So I will put that there, and you can also look at our Instagram as well. That will have more information. Sorry, just a reset. And I just want to answer this question as well. Social media can be addictive and it releases too much dopamine. How do you think that you can take actions against it? It's a question from a previous panel. Really good question. Too much dopamine. That is a really good point as well. How can we take actions against it? That is all about being intentional with how you're using it, right? Making sure that you're checking with yourself and thinking, how am I using this? Am I getting fed too much information? How do I feel? Right? Again, going back to noticing one. Notice how you're feeling when you're scrolling. Notice what people are saying. Notice what you're looking at. Look at the comments that you are looking at, and how that is being taken, how you are taking that into your own body. So that would be one way to, I guess, control how much dopamine that you are trying to take, and really controlling how you use your apps. So again, the app limits can help with that, because it will cut you off at a certain time if you want it to, so you don't go over that dopamine and get too much. I'm just looking, I set app limits. There's also the ability to extend the timer. There is the ability to extend the timer. That is a lot of self-regulation. That is very hard to do sometimes, but is a lot of checking in with yourself and saying, yes, okay, my phone has just told me that I've reached my limit, but I have this ability to just keep it going, making sure that you stop and just check with yourself and say, okay, this has happened to me. I'm seeing that I've now gone over my time limit. Maybe that means something. What else have I done during this day? Can I do something else? Do I need to go for a walk? Have I been for a walk already? Right? Just thinking about these things. So that could be how you tackle that. Another way to tackle that is by not knowing the password, getting someone else to make the password for you. And then that can make it very hard. You can't access it. So I've been sleepy because it's late. Workshop definitely woke me up. Thank you so much. And definitely, honestly, if you ever need to wake up.
Julie and Suzanne, I also have both questions for you. So Julie and Susan, what do you think about Instagram's plan to stop offering social media to underage children, and what are and how social media amplified misinformation about coronavirus and vaccines? Can
Mohammed,
Susan and Julie both?
Mohammed, can I ask a favor? Because we're about to wrap up Joey's session. Can I if I set up a meetup in one of the rooms, can you find me in the meetup room and we can talk about that? Would that be okay?
Yes,
and if anybody wants to join us and talk about that, that'd be great. I'll just go set it up right now. Will you meet me there?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. That'd be great, because we want to let Joey get going because we're already over time, but thank you. So Mohammed, go find me in a meetup. Okay. I'll be right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you everybody so much for this. This was great. I am sorry that I went a little bit over, but you were such a great audience. I loved having these discussions. everybody, I did want to take more time with those interactive parts because I saw some really, really cool answers that I haven't seen before. And these were really awesome. So thank you, everybody. I loved being here and I cannot wait to hear from everybody tomorrow. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Joey.
Thanks. Bye.